Welcome students to the new semester and welcome to those of you who have joined Togi recently. I create this PowerPoint or the video on this PowerPoint at the beginning of every semester, and the reason is really just to introduce you to the way in which I work and to provide some reminders on the expectation when you are a student at Togi. So I do hope that number one, I can go through this quickly because I do talk quite a bit, and number two, I hope that this is a helpful video for you. So let's get into it. So as I just mentioned, the intent of this video is to outline what you can expect from me. It gives you an idea of how I operate because every lecturer that you will possibly encounter at Togi works very differently, and so the expectations do change, and it feels sometimes unfair that from one person to the next you don't get that understanding of what you're working with. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I operate. Very importantly for me is always providing the why. So I provide the why in everything I do. So that's what I talk about when I talk about intent. So I'll talk about the why of practices. I'll talk about the why of assessments very importantly. So I'll talk to you why I present every assessment. It's something new I've done this semester. I find that students don't necessarily understand the reason that I've chosen a particular type of assessment. Every assessment I choose for a reason. So this semester, I will talk at the beginning of every assessment about why I've chosen this assessment and why I feel it's an important part of your educational journey, because assessments are not just about work, they should be teaching you a skill as well. Then also this video will be about reminders, and then you're going to meet us. And when I say us, it's going to be new, and I'll show you that in the next slide. And this is the new that I was talking about. We'll have two faces this semester. So we'll start with me. My name is Raisa Mohamed-Ryklief, and I will be the lecturer for this course. I've been with Togi from the beginning, and I've taught a number of courses. I'm also the head of student support, and so if you do need any kind of mental health support, you are more than welcome to reach out to me on the student support platform. I have a background in education, psychology, and human resource management, and I've been in the field of psychology for going on about 12 years now, and of course education was almost just as long. This is Ray-Ann Smith. She'll be the tutor for this course. She is available to provide you any type of support you may need, and you can contact either one of us depending on the type of support that you need. So Rayanne has a background in education and psychology as well, and the time, because we did our initial degree together, she also has about 12 years of counseling experience, but her role within the semester is really more of a tutor, academic tutor. She has a particular field of interest in addiction, and she also is currently working in the field of or studying in the field of industrial psychology. So this is us. This is a little bit of who we are. We are excited to be part of your journey. We're excited to be part of your learning process, and we look forward to learning with you, from you, and supporting your academic and your personal journey as well. So let us talk about the module guide. I know that most of you have been exposed to the module guide already, but just a reminder of how important this document is for you and for us as the support or the academic team. It is somewhat of an agreement or a contract between us on what you can expect for the duration of the semester, and I'm very open to you reminding me if I do deviate from the plan. If I do feel like I need to add a change, I will communicate that with you timelessly and then change the module guide as well, but I'll try to keep that to a minimum and only if the situation really calls for it. The module guide helps you to plan your times, it helps you to plan your due dates, and I want you to pay particular attention to the weighting. The weighting of a task, each task is allocated a weighting, and the weighting indicates to you how much that task will contribute to your overall coursework mark. So it could be 20% of your coursework mark, 5%, 10%. So this is extremely important. So please pay attention to that. You can also find the objectives and the purpose of the course, and really it just helps you to manage everything as you progress through the course. A quick reminder on PDFs, all submissions will be expected to be in PDF form. And the reason for that is PDFs are the only document that we actually can comment on the Moodle space. So when we do mark, I like to add comments on your documents. I like to add little notes. I like to add perhaps a question mark or a tick or a smiley face or whatever the case is. But we can only do that if you submit in PDF format, and also for moderation purposes, we need you to submit in PDF. If, for example, you are doing a PowerPoint with sound, remember if you convert it to PDF, I won't be able to hear the sound. Even if you're just providing a link, please provide it in PDF format. If you decide that you would like to submit your PDF, but you also would like to submit your PowerPoint, you are welcome to do this. Just please let me know that you've done so because you want me, for example, to listen to the sound on your PowerPoint or whatever the case is. But I always need a PDF version because then that's the only way I'm really able to give you the comments on your document, along with, of course, the comments in the comment box that I always do. So always look out for both because I will always add both. If you need any help on how to save as PDF, please feel free to contact me or Rayanne. Okay, so this is something many people dislike quite a bit, the word referencing, but this is just some reminders of why referencing is important. And remember, when we do reference, not only are we lending credibility to our work, not only is it to give credit to another author, but it also helps others to look at your research journey and read a bit more up on the topic. So this is important for referencing. Beyond that, referencing is also about ensuring that you have followed a good academic process, that you have interrogated the information, that you've looked at the views in the area and also the opposing views, which is very important. Many times people find that they feel that they should only add information that supports their view, but no. Referencing and research should also look at opposing views and look at what other authors say on the same topic. So what I'd like to do now is quickly go to the TOGI dashboard and remind you how to access the TOGI Harvard Guide. Because remember, although you may have it possibly from the first semester you were at TOGI, we do update the guide regularly. So make sure at the beginning of the semester, in my opinion, that you download the guide and ensure that you have the updated version all the time. I'm going to show you a bit of a trick with the guide as well. So let's get into that. Okay, apologies for the screen being this small. I have my recording area is a bit shrunken and that's why you're going to see it like this. Okay, so your dashboard will look different to mine, but it should look somewhat similar. Before we get into the TOGI Harvard Guide, I just want to add some reminders here, and that is that student assistance is available to you. So if you want to access the student counseling support portal, this is where you will find it. This is the academic support portal, and in here you can find lots of videos and articles on how to really do your best academically. It helps to teach you around referencing. I've created a video on referencing. You can access it here as well. And then the student speak document or portal is available to you. If you click on it, it'll take you to a link which allows you to add any compliments, complaints, issues that you do have, and it would go straight to the coordinator who would help you to deal with the challenge that you are facing. Then we have the electronic library portal, and we have Eric Edulus, all of those available to you, and this is helps you to access documents and research articles and the like. If you need any help with it, please feel free to reach out to me, and I've also created a video on it which you can have a look at. And then before again we get to the guide, I want to show you a bit of a trick that I really love. And so I have Google Scholar, and Google Scholar, for those of you that do not use it yet, please do. It helps you to find papers that you are interested in, or any articles, any research documents, journal articles, textbooks, and the like you can find. So usually, okay, I would go to inclusion. Inclusion is a topic I'm very interested in, and again, apologies for the small screen that you're seeing. Okay, so for example, if I were to go, I've just read this document recently actually, so I have it downloaded on my computer, but if you were to click onto it, it will give you the option to download to your computer. And then this is the trick that I love showing everybody. If you click on this little option here that says cite, opens up, and it will actually give you the various ways in which this article can be cited. So we use the Harvard, remember we use the TOGI Harvard Guide. So this is not exactly correct. This is just the Harvard way, and so different universities use Harvard. Every university uses a different version. So for example, at Stellenbosch, we use APA. At TOGI, we use Harvard. And so you can actually copy this, paste it into your referencing sheet or your reference sheet, and then tweak it. Go to your guide and see is every dot and comma in the correct place, because all of those are very important. So make sure that you do add them correctly. So a little trick for you. I hope you do use it. I hope it's helpful. Has been very helpful for me, and it just makes referencing, which can be quite a schlep, a lot easier. Okay. Again, my apologies that you could only see sections of my screen. The recording part of of my screen is actually quite small, so I apologize for that. So if you navigate to the right hand side of your screen, you'll find an area called documentation, and you can find all the important documentation. And of course, you can find the most recent version of the Harvard referencing guide. So open it, download it, keep it. It's an important thing to have for your research purposes and for your entire academic journey. So include as many references as possible in academic work, especially at a tertiary level. Make sure that you are reading as much as possible, looking at various sources, looking at various opinions. Practice this now, because when you do your honors, which you're going to do, and your masters and your PhDs, you're going to need to have the skill down. You're going to have to know how to do it. So please do practice your referencing. Ask me or the tutor or Rayanne if you need any help. We are more than happy to help you. And I would say, I don't want to put a number to this, but you should not have less than 5 to 7 sources of reference per academic submission. That is my very arbitrary number. I would say as many as possible. I don't even want to put a number to it, but I've often seen people with 5 or less, or 6 little articles that they've looked at, some of them, most of them being blogs or website. I want you to differentiate and look at many options as possible. And I've added a website for you to look at. It's quite helpful, short tips. Please go and look at that. And then the last thing I would say here is I learned this when I did actually when I was completing my honors. I already did my first degree and I was doing my honors, and it was so late in my journey to learn this. But record your references as you go. Record them. When you read an article, copy down that reference and put it on a Word document. It really helps, because at the end of your assignment, you cannot remember what you read, where you found it, how many articles you've actually looked at, where you extracted what from. So my opinion would always be, put it down as you go. At the end, when you are ready to submit, all you have to do is align everything, make sure everything is neat in alphabetical order. Your references must always be in alphabetical order, and there you go. It doesn't have to be the big problem that it can be sometimes if we don't do it in the correct fashion. So I hope that your referencing ideas are a little more in place, and you, of course, as always, are welcome to just ask any questions you need to. And if you need an online one-on-one to just go through referencing, please feel free to request that. A short word on time management. I don't want to make this video too long because I know I can talk quite a bit, but I just want to say, make sure you're planning carefully, keep in touch with your facilitators. It really is very, very helpful, and try to plot your assignments on a calendar so you don't miss anything. The assignment instructions are important, yes, but remember your rubrics are a huge part, or have a huge part to play in the way that you plan your assessment. I do believe as a lecturer that a student is entitled to to full marks. They are entitled to full marks if they meet all the requirements of the rubric. So use your rubric to guide you. Pay attention to every expectation outlined on the rubric. This is extremely important. And the rubric will help you to understand how close to the objectives you are. I'm not going to go through all of this, but just remember, I do create every rubric in a way that allows you to achieve full marks if you follow it quite closely. As a lecturer, the most important thing to me are your reflections, because reflections is more than just the assignment. It is more than just the submissions. The reflections for me is what you actually are learning, what you've internalized. And this is why I would ask you to reflect quite a bit in your assignments. And so reflections is looking on your own experience, on your behaviors, on your progress, on what you think, on the way you've grown and where you've gone from one point to another. It helps you to step back and look at the issue from various viewpoints and not just your own. So I really want you to reflect as much as possible, as openly as possible, and as you develop trust with me as a lecturer, you'll be able to perhaps share more of your own experiences. Reflections, the question around I always get around reflections, how do you mark a reflection? And that's a very good question because reflections are very subjective and not necessarily it's not necessarily easy to add a mark to the reflection. So I don't mark you on your reflection because that's personal and it'll be disrespectful for me to mark you on what you've reflected, but rather I mark you on how you've reflected. Have you reflected on a very basic and superficial level? So just looked up and said the sun is hot, or have you gone deeper and reflected on the thoughts around it, on the behaviors, on the other viewpoints on the sun? So your reflection being, and this is obviously just an example that I'm using, more insightful reflections. And so they could be things like the sun is very hot, but it also sustains life. The sun is a god to some people in some cultures or some religions rather, and then your own experience. And so the sun, and again a very basic example, but the sun, my experience with the sun is that it has been a source of comfort for me because I love the sun, I love the heat, and the heat I connect to good feelings around summer because summertime is when my family always spend time. So you can see I'm going a little bit deeper, but my point is that bring in your experiences and thoughts when you are working on your assignments because this helps you to develop a deeper understanding of any subject. If you connect your learning to something real in your life, you are more likely to internalize this. And I'm talking now about actual educational psychology principles here. If you connect it to something real, and of course, it depends on your school of thought also, but it does help you to internalize the learning a lot better. So that is why I push you to reflect. The other reason for reflections is that reflection helps you to develop an educated gut. So an educated gut is very important to me because it goes beyond just learning the skill, the basic skills or the basic practices in a specific field. An educated gut helps you to respond to any situation. Whether you've been confronted with it before or not, it helps you to figure out how to deal with any situation. And so, if you're in a situation, a school situation, and there's currently a crisis that you've never ever dealt with before, because you have an educated gut, because you've practiced the skills, because you practice the thinking around school, for example, you will know how to respond in that situation. And that really is my goal at the end of the day, to equip you not only with the skills, but also to equip you with the educated gut to be able to deal with any situation that does arise. So I'm looking forward to hearing and reading about what you're reflecting on, and remember that it's an important part of this course. Let's go through some quick hits from what you can expect, or my thinking rather, as a lecturer. I choose every task for a reason. You may feel like, oh, this task is so simple, it's just a quiz, or it is just a small activity that is so easy to follow. I choose every task for a reason. I use some of them as, especially in the initial task, as a baseline task. I use it as a reflective task. And so every task I choose is not just for marks. It's not just about an assessment so that I can give you a mark for your coursework mark. I choose the task to build a specific skill set to help you on your journey for a very specific reason. And then tasks do build upon each other. So for example, I might give you two workshop tasks. The one really is for you to practice the skill of workshops or creating workshops. And the second one, for example, might be for you to present the workshop in video format. I do this because one day I believe that many of you will be head of departments, you will be a vice principal, a principal, and an academic advisor at the department one day, and you need to be prepared to present things like workshops. So now is the time for you to practice. I believe in giving detailed feedback, specific and detailed feedback to every single student because I feel that you're entitled to that. So my feedback does take a little bit longer to get to you. That being said, I do work hard to make sure that it reaches you as soon as it possibly can. So you are welcome to engage me on your feedback as well. Again, just remember the weighting, that we spoke about the weighting a little bit earlier. So just remember that the weighting is very important. Missing just one task can have a great impact. I would like to ask you to please not request unnecessary extensions. Extensions are available to those who have family crisis, who, for example, are ill, or their child is ill, or whatever the case is. So please keep those to a minimum. And of course, online meetings are always available to you, but I do ask that you request them. In the past, I've had online meetings and people have not actually joined. So if you do want to have an online meeting, either one-to-one or as a group, and I'm sorry that the word group actually fell off the page, it looks like, but if you want to request a meeting one-on-one or as a group, please feel free to do so. I'm very happy to oblige. Just some quick tips. You probably know most of this already, but just things that I think are helpful in academics, like not using too many contractions. I don't think that's good in academic work. And remember, at this level, at this cluster level, you are expected to do a lot more work for less marks. So don't see 2 marks and think you can just add 3 words. You'd still have to add 2 sentences or 3 sentences. Rather, give more than less to ensure that you are meeting the expectation. Let me end off by saying I wish you the very best for the semester ahead. I'm very excited to join you on your journey of discovery through this module and ahead. I hope that you find it to be a helpful and interesting semester, and that we build a good relationship that allows us to reflect for each other, talk to each other, compliment and critique each other in a healthy way. I believe in putting in 100% as a lecturer and giving you as much feedback as possible. But as a lecturer, I expect you to work hard, put in a lot of focus, stick to your due dates, and really give us each assignment the time and consideration that it requires and that it deserves. So, have a wonderful semester ahead, and I am very interested at the end of the semester to find out all that you've learned and all the ways in which you have grown. Have a lovely day and good luck with your first assessments.